with Sean Boyd, calling in all the way from California. You've got templates behind you. I'm guessing you're in your shop or close to your shop right now.
I am.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on and chatting with us. Looking forward to getting into your background as a woodworker and all the stuff that you're doing.
Cool. Happy to be here.
Well, I'd love to get into your background and kind of go all the way back. When did you first start building things?
I mean, building things just in general, kind of just my whole life, or at least, I was one of those kids who my dad was the type of guy who, or is the type of guy who just likes to do everything around the house. So, as a kid, we remodeled our home and he was doing a lot of that stuff. So I was kind of just there helping, holding the hammer, passing nails and things to him. But then not until only maybe 6 years ago did I kind of decide to pursue building things in a much more serious way. So I quit my job I lived in Salt Lake City. I was working for the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was for about 8 or so years. I was kind of working on the film festival circuit. So I was kind of moving all over the place, working for different film festivals. And it was one of those things where I was in a position in a company that was very creative, but I was doing like logistical and operations type things. So I got to the point where it's like, I want to be the creative one.
Right.
So yeah, I quit my job, moved back to California, started building things and building furniture. And it's been this kind of a fast progression, but when I started, I had a circular saw and a drill and kind of went from there. So.
All right, so I definitely need to go back to Sundance. So do you have like a film background? Like how did you even get into that?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in film, and I wanted to get into like cinematography and things like that. So I have a degree in economics from Cal Poly, which is a school a little hour north of here or so. Got a job straight out of college in the Bay Area, which was like, if you can think of the like most typical office job you can think of, I mean, like worse than Office Space. That's what I was doing. And I lasted 2 weeks there, and I quit. Then I decided to move to Texas. I had a buddy that was living in Texas. So I went to Texas, did about a year of film school there. And then by that point, I was, asking like my teachers and counselors, like, should I get a second degree? Should I get a master's degree? And they basically said, no, you're at an age, like, go start working. Just get into it. So I moved to LA, worked in like film production for a couple of years. And then that eventually led to working in film festivals. And then that became my main gig for the next few years.
That's crazy. Did you also make like films as a kid growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was one of those kids who, like, as soon as we had a family video camera, I had that thing, on the weekends with my buddies, and so yeah, that definitely was something I was into.
Yeah. So you said logistics, like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially I was in the department that was responsible for like physically putting on the film festival. So like all the production aspects of making sure that there were barricades and chairs and tents and and basically organizing and making sure that all went off well, so that the films could be shown properly and the filmmakers would be happy and the patrons would be happy. And so it was all the behind the scenes stuff.
That's crazy. I worked for an event company for a while. We put on road races. Like 5K, half marathons, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And tents, barricades.
Right.
Yeah. It seems like it's fun. Like, oh, you're like basically like an event planner. It's like, no, it's like actually super stressful. It's actually not that ton of fun. So
we used to always joke that we were just glorified carnies, because we were like working in a huge tent, like sweeping up, trash all the time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
This is just circus work.
So you said you were on the film festival circuit. Like, I didn't that people rotate around like
Right.
carnies on film? Okay.
Totally. It's one of those things that you never would even think about. You know, film festivals exist, but you know, beyond that, no one knows about it for the most part. But yeah, you basically, it's essentially gig work. You know, a film festival lasts for a week or two, or you know, some of them are a weekend, and then you basically have, depending on the size of it, you have maybe a couple months of planning beforehand, maybe a few weeks after. So I essentially, for a few years, I was jumping from festival to festival, putting together these, you know, 3-4 month long gigs, until I eventually got in with Sundance, and then that became a year round thing. But yeah, there's a bunch of people, like you see these same people at these different film festivals, like, you know, are you going to do the San Francisco one? Are you doing LA this year? You know, so it's fun. It was a lot of fun, but it, you know, it was hard work, and it was crazy.
Did you get to interact with anybody famous?
Oh yeah, when I was at Sundance, it was there were a lot of famous people. Robert Redford was around all the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how did you go from Robert Redford to I want to build furniture?
It was really, like I was saying, I kind of was, I just had this urge. I was helping creative people be creative, but I wasn't getting to be. So anytime I had like a job, you know, so I in my Sundance world, I was, you know, doing like a lot of production type stuff. And so it would be like, hey, we need to build a, you know, like a cash register stand for one of our festival stores. And that was like, yes, like, let's do that. That's super fun. And so I just kind of realized, like, you know, I need to, I'm at an age where I can still take this chance. You know, if I wait much longer, you know, you kind of run into that thing of like, is it too late? So I, you know, it's not like woodworking was the thing that I was like, oh, I'm going to be a woodworker. That's what's calling me. It just was like, I knew how to use a saw, knew how to use a drill. And like, from there, I was like, okay, I have these very, very small group of skills. And I'm going to run with that. Essentially was my mindset. So, you know, if I had potentially had a welder as a kid, you know, I would be doing metalwork right now or something. But I think woodworking, just in the nature of it, is a lot more open to more people, just because I feel like there's, you know, less barriers to get started with it. So yeah, that was what I chose.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I wouldn't think, like, I would think you would want to go like make films or like be a director or something like that.
Right.
But that makes sense, because I mean, you were building a lot too.
Yeah, it was, and definitely before I got into film festivals, that was the idea. Like, I wanted to be a cinematographer, and I was working on these really small short films and student films and things that I, you know, was not making a living. And then so the film festival thing was a way to still be in film, but actually make a living doing it. So it was this kind of natural progression of like, okay, make a living. I'm still in the field that I like. And then I worked in that for X amount of years and got to the point where, like, okay, I'm making a living, but I don't feel fulfilled with what I'm doing. Right. So that was what made that decision happen.
Yeah. Were you turned off by the film industry? Like, since you kind of saw the backside of it, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, no, the thing that really got me about, you know, there were the kind of classic ideas of the film industry. I didn't get that deep into it, especially in like the Hollywood side of it. And the film festival world is so different. It's much more kind of like nonprofit-esque. But the one thing that really got me about the film industry was that it's this industry that has so much money. We're so used to hearing, you know, massive budgets on films, but I've never seen so many people that worked for free or for almost no, you know, people are working for credit, they're working for meals. And that's what really bummed me out about it, was like, there's so much money in this industry, but it's so centralized to, you know, the studios and stuff. And there's, it's so hard for someone to break into it or, make a short film without, I mean, I knew people who made a short film that was 10 minutes long, and they basically blow every dollar they had to get it made in the hopes that it gets picked up on a film festival. And then, and it happens, it gets seen by someone, and then that turns into bigger and better things. But it's rare. And it was a bummer to see that the little guys weren't getting paid, and it wasn't sustainable for a lot of people. And it's just a hard industry to work in.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you went to woodworking, did you know it was furniture that you wanted to sell?
Yeah. So I've talked about, I think I talked about this when I was talking to Chris Salamoni on their podcast.
Yeah.
But so right as I kind of decided, okay, I'm leaving Sundance at the end of this next festival time period, and I'm going to go make furniture. And one of my coworkers was like, my sister wants some bar stools, and she knew that the area I live in is a big wine area. And so we have a ton of wine barrel furniture is super popular here.
Oh, cool.
And so she was like, I hadn't made anything. I didn't have a website. I had nothing to show. And she said, my sister wants to buy 6 wine barrel bar stools for you. Do you think you can make them? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll figure it out. So because of that, I started making furniture. I mean, that was really I owe a lot to these people that they were like, make us some bar stools. And then from there, it was like, okay, I made some bar stools. Now let's make a table. Let's make, all sorts of other things. But it was all based around wine barrel furniture. That was definitely the first aesthetic that I was doing.
So was that after you decided you wanted this to be a business? Was there any time where this was kind of like a side hustle for you before?
Yeah, definitely. There was definitely overlap. So okay. I left Sundance, and that was my year-round gig. But then after I left Sundance, I still did occasional short-term festival gigs. So that was kind of nice to have a little bit of this gray area where I would maybe go, for a month or two, go work a film festival, but then I could come back, and I was completely open to making furniture. It wasn't like where I have a 9 to 5 and I was trying to cram it into nights and weekends.
Yeah.
So that was super nice. I could kind of go work for a month or two, and then as I'm nearing the end of that job, I would start kind of emailing people, or people would email me, and I would maybe get a job or two if I was, super lucky, lined up. So I could come back, make something for someone, and then whatever extra time I had, I was making, stuff on spec and trying to kind of develop my skill and my design sense and stuff like that.
Yeah. How were you developing your design sense?
I mean, so,
or what were you attracted to?
Right. So I was making this wine barrel stuff, and to me, that I was making it because I knew that was popular here. Yeah. And I needed something that people would just be into. I knew it would have a wide audience. But I didn't it wasn't my aesthetic at all. So while I was making this stuff, I was researching other furniture makers and, other kind of design ideas. And I've always been attracted to real clean, not overly modern, but essentially all this to get to I like mid-century modern design, because it is clean and really nice lines, but it's not overly the futuristic side of mid-century modern is kind of like a retro future, you know? So that was kind of my initial step into that. And then, I found different people like Jory Brigham, and there's this guy named Jared Rustin up in Northern California, that I was like, oh man, I love their furniture, and this is the stuff I want to make. I eventually went to work for Jory for a few months, and that very much molded my design sense. And then from there, I've just like, if you look at some of my very first stuff beyond the wine barrel stuff, it's like Jory. You can tell he was such a inspiration to me. I mean, just the fact that he was local, and then I went to work for him. And then from there, I started to kind of develop my own design sense, kind of, from that foundation.
Yeah. When I saw it was I think it's the hi-fi side table, and it had that like orange. And I wonder if he like worked for Jory or like he knows him.
It's funny because that orange color is such a, if you look at mid-century stuff, that orange color is such a mid-century color, but Jory has really like made it, that's so ingrained in his stuff that you just think of him. But it's such I love it. Like I love that orange color.
Yeah. So building these pieces, like I imagine, take a while. And I feel like when I have talked to professional woodworkers, like it's really hard sometimes to sell these really unique pieces. So like, how were you finding clients, or did you have clients, or kind of what was like the business side of it?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, that hi-fi side table, I think I've sold like 3 of those, and I designed that thing like 5 years ago or 4 years ago or something. So yeah, there is a difficulty in designing interesting and unique things, but then also finding an audience for it. I can't tell you how many times people will. It's not so much these days, but back then people would find my website, send me an email that says, "I love your stuff. It's so cool. Can you make me a rustic barnwood dining table?"
Yeah.
So yeah, finding that audience is difficult. I think I'm in a unique space where like I'm close to LA, close enough to LA, which, there's that design sense is kind of more popular there. It really was just putting my stuff out there, which I'm bad at, but getting it on social media. I did a lot of just like hitting the pavement. I would go to stores here in Santa Barbara and see if they wanted to put a piece of mine, in the store or whatever. I got into a couple spots that helped a bit. I would get emails like, "Oh, I saw your table at, blah, blah, blah in Santa Barbara." But it's a long process. Like it was slow and took a long time. But then leveraging social media is like really what took me to that next level for sure. Like that's without a doubt.
Yeah. So were you selling furniture like through like Instagram, or what do you mean by social media?
Yeah, like I think so. Well, so basically any sales besides like the ones that would go through a store or something locally, any sales would be, someone would email me, and it was mostly all custom stuff. Even if they were like, "I want this piece you designed, can we make it to custom specifications or whatever?" So like I basically even now I have very little like inventory of built furniture. So yeah, it was word of mouth locally. I would, a lot of people, as soon as I like maybe sold a few pieces to people locally, then I would get emails like, "Oh, I'm a friend of this person. They have a table. Can you make me something?" But then, once I started to kind of catch on, well, not even catch on social media, but just once I was putting my stuff onto Instagram, and you just instantly get this slightly bigger audience. It goes from my parents' friends and my friends who have money knowing about me, to then, "Oh, I have 300 followers on Instagram." Like that's obviously more people than I could call on the phone or whatever.
Right.
And then I have 500, and then 1,000. So that was just this real slow burn of like, "Oh, okay, I'm developing this slightly larger audience." And then it just kept going from there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you would have clients come to you, were they buying pieces you had already designed, or like were you designing specific pieces for them as well?
Yeah, I would say early on it was definitely clients would come to me with an idea for the most part. Occasionally I would get someone who like I said, would just be like, oh, I really like that coffee table you made. Can I get it a foot longer and a foot wider or whatever?
Right.
But yeah, I would say early on it was 80% custom stuff that wasn't even close to what I was wanting to make, and 20% would be like making stuff that was my design or whatever, or something similar. And then I feel like as I've moved along, that ratio has definitely started to push far more to making my stuff, or at least within my aesthetic, which is nice to have that happening.
Yeah. So do you still sell like custom pieces today?
Yeah, I still do. And actually it's funny because as I'm doing more content, I'm definitely in this weird area of I have a hard time. I'm still in the mindset of like a custom furniture maker,
Yeah.
and not as like a full-time YouTube video maker.
Right. Right.
So like, as I'm doing more work with Chris Salamone, he definitely is of the mindset, like if someone emails him and says, hey, can you make me your Bad Larry credenza or whatever it is, he'll be like, no, I can't, because it doesn't make for a good video. Like
Right.
I've made that video.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone emails me and says, can you make me your lounge chair that you've made a video on, I still say, yeah, sure. And I'll like just try to jam in the time of, I know I can make that chair pretty quickly. So I'll just say, I still say yes to that stuff. So I still do custom furniture, but I'm trying to, as YouTube becomes more and more a larger part of my business, I'm trying to, I guess the custom side of it would be like just making a new piece for a YouTube video every time,
Yeah.
So it's always nice. I have a few clients that come to me, somewhat regularly with new pieces of furniture that they want, and those can be videos, which that's awesome. It's awesome when someone's willing to like do something new and different. And that always works really well as far as the business side of it goes. But yeah, I mean, it's my business is changing for sure, and it's crazy to try and figure it out.
Do you approach projects differently, knowing that it's going to be a video first versus it's going to be in somebody's house?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's, I mean, not only like, just like the fit and finish of a piece, there is, it's like, I hate to say it, but there is the YouTube finish versus like the needs to be in someone's home finish.
Yeah. You can't touch it on YouTube. You don't know there's nothing to do. Right.
And like, I've yet to make a piece. Well, actually, no, I made this. It's actually in my shop. I made this hanging curved bent lamination lamp a couple weeks ago for the bent Rockler Bentwood challenge. And that's something I definitely would not sell to a person, unless I said, hey, you can have it for cheap, and here's all the things that are wrong with it. But I still definitely, even if it's a piece that's just for YouTube, I still try to make it to the standards that I would want if it was going into someone's home, because there is the potential that someone emails me and says, hey, I love that piece, I'd love to buy it. But besides just like the finish of the fit and finish of a piece, I definitely approach it differently. I have to take into consideration, I'm filming the whole thing. So like if I'm doing multiple things at once, I need to be aware of like, okay, I need to film this and this, while it's all happening. So you definitely have to organize differently, and your order of operations can kind of shift. So it has changed the way I work, and it's slowed me down for sure. I mean, I think that's obvious just with having to like film things, and that's just going to slow me down. I'm actually doing a job right now that's not going to be filmed for a video just because the time frame was too tight, and it's not really very interesting stuff. And it's crazy how quickly I'm doing it because I'm
Yeah.
not filming it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've forgotten how that, how different and how much time it adds to film stuff. And so it's like, it's a good reminder for sure.
Yeah. What's for people that maybe don't have like context, like how long would you said like the lounge chair, how long would that take you if you weren't filming it?
I could probably get it built in 2 days.
Okay.
And then, finishing that always adds time just because you're letting stuff dry and things
Right.
like that. But yeah, like I think if I had nothing else going on and you said build this lounge chair, that's maybe, 2 to 3 days probably. Whereas with filming, it could take a week or more.
Right. Right. So do you like your personal projects then? It sounds like you get to do a lot more. Like you get to do what you're interested in since you're not doing as much client stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely I would say that's like the biggest positive from doing YouTube and content as opposed to making furniture for people is that for the most part, I'm 100% free to do whatever I want. And that's like, I mean, you couldn't for an artist or something like that is essentially what an artist is. They're making their art and putting it out there. And if people like it, that's great. So yeah, that's like the absolute dream, to be able to just make what you want, what's in your head, and put it out there, and to have people consume it in whatever capacity is like that's I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to ask you about templates. So we had Jonathan Katzmosis, I think he was on last week,
Okay.
the show that came out as of this recording.
Uh-huh.
And he said that he was getting into it because of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when like I hear templates, it's like, oh, like he must be like professionally making furniture to make templates. But then Jonathan was mentioned like he's selling templates too. Like,
Right.
so how is that? Did that start out just as like a production process? And do you like sell templates or kind of what's that like?
Yeah. So templates were like a total game changer for me, for lack of a better term. But that's something that Jory really showed me. He his process was basically make the template, and make that first, before you've even made the piece of furniture. And because you're able to, with MDF, you can shape it so much easier. Right. And so like even taking CNC or laser technology completely out of it, I was making templates long before I had a CNC machine, and just the speed at which you can shape MDF is, I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, once I've been making templates to make furniture for a long time. And then once I started, doing YouTube and stuff, and I'm getting a ton of requests to make plans. And I know plans are something that a lot of people do. And I kind of was like, I make plans, but then the plans say, use your template to, and so I was like, well, this isn't really fair. Like,
Right.
I could say, here's the print, you can print this out and make your own template, which a lot of people can do. And that's perfectly fine. But I was like, why don't I give the option where I'll cut the templates and send those as well? And that was around the same time I got my X-Carve. And so I started offering templates along with plans if you wanted them. And it's done really well. I've gone from cutting them on my X-Carve, which takes a long time, just the nature of using a small CNC machine to cut big old templates. Like I have my rocking chair templates, which that's some of these back here, these big,
okay, yeah,
big long ones. And it's just hard to do on a small machine. But now Jonathan has a laser, and I can cut 3 sets of rocking chair templates in like 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, which actually I have a stack of orders I need to send out this morning. People are waiting for them. But yeah, that's so now Jonathan's kind of wanting to start doing this. I know he's cutting templates for Jay Bates, and which is awesome, like to kind of develop this this business where he's the guy who cuts the templates for a bunch of people and kind of covers that side of it, and we can focus on making plans and making new pieces and doing that side of it, which is really exciting. I think it's an awesome idea.
Yeah, it's so cool. I remember when I took like my first, I guess, woodworking class was at
Mhm.
Highland Woodworking in
Yeah.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
and so because I live about an hour down the road from it, and
Okay.
I had no clue anything about woodworking. I didn't know like, oh, this is like a pretty famous place, and so I
Right.
was taking the class in the back, and like all this wood stuff was on the wall, different shapes. I'm like, what are those? They're like, oh,
Right.
yeah, those are templates for a rocking chair or whatever.
Right.
But it's so cool to see what you can
Totally.
make from other people's stuff. So you mentioned CNC and laser. So
Mhm.
then now is your design process, do you start digital
Yeah.
then and then go to the templates and then create the
Yeah.
piece?
So yeah, my process prior to CNC was draw stuff out, maybe design something on the computer, just to like kind of have a better, like a more accurate
Yeah.
representation, and then start making the template, which was like put a sheet of MDF on my assembly table and draw it full scale
Oh,
essentially.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now with this technology, I still definitely start with a sketch. Like that's the easiest way for me to like get it from my brain onto a physical form. And then from there, yeah, I'll go to the computer, model it, and then it's very easy to like pull, like an SVG file out from there, and then cut it on a machine. Which that's in template making. Like I guess there is like an art to making accurate templates like by hand, which is awesome, and I think it's a good skill to have and something like everyone should probably do at least a few times. But then the ability that we have now to get perfectly accurate templates first try is like something. It's like, why would I there's no reason to not utilize that technology if you've got it, because like then I love taking that template and then doing everything else by hand.
Yeah.
So I'm not the type where I want to like cut actual furniture parts on my CNC machine, but to cut the template, which just gives me that, I know from the start like this is accurate, and it's such a better starting point.
So when you're designing, are you looking at like the silhouette? Like when you're just sketching stuff out, like are you getting inspired by certain things? Like I want to make it look kind of like this, or what's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely I try to draw inspiration from different places and different things. Sometimes it's well, I always start with like the thing I want to make, what type of piece it is.
Right.
I very very rarely am I just like I see something and go like, oh, that reminds me of a dining table, or that
Gotcha.
doesn't really happen for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that nebulous. Yeah.
Right. So I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna design a dining table. I'll maybe kind of have like a design aesthetic in mind, but then yeah, it's very much like on a piece of paper, drawing lines, drawing silhouettes or profiles of it, and then I'll try to sketch like kind of a 3D view, which I'm not the best sketch artist, but I can at least get like my ideas across.
Mhm.
And then from there, go to the computer. But yeah, I definitely think that like lines and you're able to just see kind of like this pulled back view of a piece, like this really pared down version, which to me, like I like details. I like if you go up to something like, oh, well, look at this joint, or look at these little things, that's nice. But for me, the main draw is like when I'm looking at a piece of furniture from across the room, and I
Gotcha.
can like, even if if it's like backlit and it's like you're saying like a total silhouette, but to see like all those lines and things, that's like what I'm into. So yeah, definitely when I'm drawing, I'm like kind of channeling that.
So, like you're not getting super crazy then with joinery. Like, are you like hand cutting dovetails and
Not
all that kind of
really.
stuff?
um I have cut dovetails and things like that, but no, that's not really that's not necessarily what I'm into. I think
Okay.
it's like, I think it's really awesome. And I
Right, right.
like people that hand cut dovetails. I'm like, man, that's crazy. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But no, like that's not, I think it, if I'm making something with like a cabinet or a case or something, having all the joints be dovetails to me doesn't change the like how much I like it. Like
Got it. Okay.
I'm looking at the overall picture. I definitely would walk up and be like, wow, look at these dovetails.
Right, right.
Um, but to me, that if it had mitered corners or butt joints or dovetails, I still would have the same feeling towards
Gotcha.
the piece,
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the process?
Oh, that's a good question. I definitely like the design part of it,
Uh-huh.
just because that feels the most creative. Um, so I probably would say that, but I do love like building. I think probably the best part of the building process for me is like when I've unclamped, like, I've done a big glue up or something that's been difficult to get that point. It's just been a lot of like cutting panels and parts and things. And then once I glue up something, take the clamps off and maybe do like that initial sanding or something to kind of refine the look of it. And it finally starts to look like an actual piece of furniture, or like the
Yeah.
first time you set your top onto a base or something. Everything could still be really rough, but it's the first time you see it like as an actual piece. That's, to me, that's really exciting. Like that's, you put all this work into, and it's up until that point, it's just been squares of plywood or
Yeah.
weird looking parts all separated. So then, yeah, once it's finally starts to look like something, it's like, oh man, that's when I get really excited. And it's like, now I really want to I want to finish it at that point. It's like, let's get this thing done because it's looking awesome.
What's the last piece that you got real excited about when you got to that point?
So this one, I'm going to finish it today. And I was just down in LA with Chris working on it, but it's like like a bar height table, a cocktail table, bistro table, whatever you want to call
Okay.
it. And so like it has this kind of cool kind of tripod leg base thing. And that was a good example of like, it was looking really funky, like in all the parts when they were separate. And then when I glued it up, it was, it's got the clamps all over it. And I was like, oh man, like I'm not sure if the proportions are right. And then I took the clamps off, had the round that's going to be the tabletop. And it was totally like the shape wasn't done or anything, but I set it on top of the legs and I was like, oh yeah, like that, it all like made sense. It all looked
Right.
right. So I'm excited to get this done. It's also got like, this isn't like the stuff that I usually do, but it's got epoxy and LEDs and
Oh, cool.
stuff
Yeah.
like that in it.
All the
So
crazy stuff, right?
yeah. I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Why not?
That's fun.
Hopefully it still looks tasteful enough.
Where did you say it's going to wind up?
So this is just for YouTube right now.
For YouTube, okay.
So, I'll probably put it up on, if I'm always like, I want to make sure it's all working, if like the LEDs work and it looks okay, and then I'll probably put it up on my website, and if someone wants it, they can buy it or whatever.
Yeah. Is something like that something you would make like plans and templates for, or is there like a type of project you're like, I should spend the extra time to actually sell for?
I think something like this table would actually, yes, be very good for plans and templates, because it's very template driven. It's not a super difficult piece. You could leave out the whole epoxy and LED thing if you wanted, and it still would look great. So yeah, I definitely, I would never like go into well, I don't know. I guess I would design a piece with the direct intention of like, this is going to be a piece for plans. But there's definitely some pieces where I'm like, this doesn't make sense to sell plans and templates. Like potentially if it doesn't use a lot of templates, or if there's just too much going on, or so yeah, there's different criteria in my head about what are good for templates and what aren't. Chris and I, we're working on getting plans and stuff put together, hopefully in the next few months. And we're definitely talking about like, okay, what are pieces, we want to have like a group of like maybe, 3 or 4 sets to kind of offer people. It's like, okay, we want something that's fairly simple, maybe something that's a little more intricate, and then like kind of something that is like a big would be a big build for someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely all those you take into all that stuff into consideration.
Have you gotten like pictures from people that have built your stuff?
Yeah, for sure. That's like probably one of the best parts about selling plans and templates is getting pictures from people who have built your stuff. And man, I'll say some people will send me pictures of my design, and I'm like, you made it better than I did.
Right.
Like, you crushed it. So I think it's really cool. Some people just they could be a very, very skilled woodworker, but they maybe just don't have the vision to design something. I think people's brains just work in different ways, or some people are fantastic designers but just don't have the skill to build something. So I think a lot of people, they're really good woodworkers, but they just want that little push of like, here's a design, build this. And so like when I get those pictures, I'm like, man, this is so good. Like, why aren't you making your own furniture? But then I'm like, oh, that there could be that situation where they're like, they just want to flex that building muscle.
Right.
And which that's like, I love that. That's so cool to see. And I'm like, I love that I'm able to provide something that people are really into.
Yeah. It's like some people like to build the Lego kits, and then some people like to create the kits that the Legos are going to be. Right.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's fun. So you had a background in film, you're working for Sundance, and then you did furniture. Then eventually it sounds like those two worlds merged together because you're posting videos to YouTube. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, that's it's funny. I probably talk about that more with like my film friends, because it's like, we were living in LA, grinding, trying to get any sort of traction with short films and videos and things. And then I leave that, go start woodworking, which is like, couldn't find something more different.
Right.
And then of course I catch on making videos. So yeah, it was, I don't know, that was just kind of like a crazy kind of coincidence. And I think if you watch a lot of even my videos now, you'd be like, this guy has a background in film. Like, I'm not seeing it, because they're not overly, beautiful to look at or anything. But I definitely think just having the skill of knowing how to edit, knowing how to work a camera, gave me a small leg up on it. But it really was when I started making videos, it was just a way to showcase the process. Like, it was a marketing tool for my furniture business. I had no intention of making money from YouTube or using, having that be part of my actual business beyond marketing. And then it just started to catch on, and it was, I was like, okay, well, if this is working, I might as well focus a little bit more on it and see where it goes. So that it was totally unintentional, which I kind of hate to say when people say, oh, what, I get questions, how can I want to start making videos, and do you have any tips? And I wish I did, but it really was like, I didn't mean for it to really happen, but it did. And so then at that point, like once I saw it happening, it was like, okay, I'll see where this goes and take it a little more seriously.
Was there a video that kind of popped off early for you?
Yeah, I think I make this credenza. It's called the broadcast credenza, and it's that plywood, that stacked plywood look. And I mean, that was maybe like the third or fourth video I posted.
Okay. Yeah.
It was no talking, just shot on my GoPro with music in the background. And I think that one started to get some views. I had a coffee table that was around the same time that started to get some views. And I mean, like, when I'm saying it started to get some views, like it got like a 2,000 views or something. But to me, I was like, 2,000 views, like,
right.
this is crazy.
Yeah. It's even more than the 300 on Instagram.
Right. Yeah. It's like, you know, to me, I was like, that means 2,000 people have seen my furniture, whereas I'm used to 20 people see my, see my furniture, like in a local store or something. So, to me, that was huge. And so then even at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I started just posting more, still shot on a GoPro, just music, like very little effort into them. And then I think I have a curved bench. It's like my modern plywood bench, which is the same thing. It's that stacked plywood. That was I mean, at that point I was already saying, okay, I'm going to put more time into this. But then I posted that one, and I don't even remember. Like it probably was up for a while and was just kind of getting a normal amount of views. And then like it really took off. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to start talking. I'm going to start doing YouTube videos rather than just like, here's my process videos.
Yeah. Did you notice like a shift then in people watching or even like comments after that once you started interacting?
Oh yeah, for sure. And even before I started talking in videos, people were commenting saying, you should explain stuff. You should, we want to know your thought process or whatever. So I already had that feedback of like, here's what the people want, or here's what my viewers want. And so it was nice to already kind of know, and there were people already doing it, so I'm like watching other people's videos going like, okay, this is what people are doing on YouTube. I mean, before that I really kind of had no idea that woodworking YouTube videos were even a thing.
Right.
And so once I started to kind of see what was happening, it was like, okay, I do need to explain what I'm doing and be more interactive. And then, yeah, from there, it really, like, that's really when it started to grab on, and people were totally into it.
So fast forward to now, are you like, how many projects are you shooting to get out?
So now, so I've started posting videos on Chris's channel. And so my channel has I haven't posted something on there for like a month and a half, maybe. I kind of intend to still post stuff on my channel, smaller things. But just Chris and I are so busy with what we're doing over on his channel. He likes to say it's our channel now. So I'm trying to get better about saying that. But
yeah.
So like this month, I've got this. I'm gonna have 2 videos out this month. He's gonna have potentially 2 videos out this month. Then I mean we're basically looking to do 4 videos total per month from here on out. To me, to him, which is basically the same as what we were doing on our separate channels.
Yeah.
So it's like, as far as the content goes, there's no difference. But yeah, I would say I basically work a month at a time. Like, I know this month I have 2 videos, so I actually have both projects going. I'm finishing this table today, and I'm actually building a guitar, and that's such an involved process that I've been trying to just kind of chip away at it.
Yeah.
Whenever I have time.
What type of guitar?
It's going to be an electric guitar. It's based on a guitar called a Tallman that Ibanez made.
Okay.
Back in like the 90s, I think. I don't think they make it anymore. So I've made a few guitars in the past, but never made a neck and a fretboard. And so this one I'm making the entire thing.
Full out.
Yeah. So I just last week I cut the fret slots and like carved the radius on the fretboard and did kind of some of the more intricate stuff. So it's coming along. We'll see if it plays.
That's crazy. Is it any CNC stuff, or are you like hand cutting the frets and stuff?
Yeah, basically everything's gonna be done by hand. It's basically, I'm doing it the same way I would make a piece of furniture. I have templates for the body and the neck shape. But yeah, everything else, like the actual cutting of the real parts is all going to be done by hand.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't realize how integrated you and Chris were now. Like I knew you guys had done like some collaborations
Yeah.
together, but when you said our channel, I was like, wait a minute. And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, he has been on the channel a ton. How did that happen?
Yeah. So it's something we haven't been very good about, like being like announcing, you know how, like, I mean, if
Right.
on YouTube and Instagram and things, you kind of have to say things over and over and over again,
Right. Right.
to
Right.
make sure everyone knows. And we haven't been good about that, which is our fault. But at the same time, we're kind of like, it'll work out over time. But yeah, we basically a couple months ago kind of were like, we're so much stronger together. This whole YouTube thing, it's a bunch of people, a bunch of individuals all trying to reach the same ends, and which is great. I don't really feel like we're competing against each other,
Uh,
but the sustainability of a woodworking YouTube channel, a furniture making YouTube channel, is crazy. Like, it's crazy difficult. The idea that I'm going to make 3 to 4 pieces of furniture every month for as long as I can is
right.
absolutely insane.
And make a video and
And
promote it
yes,
and
and
yeah,
yes,
thumbnails and edit and
right.
right.
And then also wanting to like make plans and do templates, and there's like, selling shirts and Patreon. Like, it's just crazy with,
It's a lot. Yeah.
and like Chris and I were both, our model was to just do everything ourselves. I know some people are smart and they hire editors or hire people to do administrative stuff. So we kind of said, let's still keep everything still like within our grasp. Like, we're still trying to do everything ourselves, but with 2 people, it's so much more sustainable. And I feel like we're far more creative. Like, when we're in the same room, like, we're just constantly bouncing ideas off of each other. So like, not only for furniture ideas, but for video ideas and business ideas. And then it's honestly, it's more enjoyable to like,
Yeah.
to have I love the, the individuality of making furniture as a one-man shop,
Mhm.
and kind of being your own boss. But there's something to be said about having another person nearby. I mean, that's like why having Jonathan here has been great.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said about having that other person there to just have that interaction. And it's nice. So yeah, like Chris and I are hoping I'm eventually probably going to move down to him, and we're going to expand his shop space,
Okay.
and just kind of see where it goes. And we want to do plans, and we have a bunch of stuff that we're hoping to do. So as 2 people, it just seems like we can handle it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because like you mentioned, like a lot of the folks in our space, either they'll bring on like an editor or they'll
Mhm.
be like an assistant or someone else that's like helping out.
Right.
But I mean, it's almost like you guys are both the talent, quote unquote, like in creating all the stuff too,
Right.
which is cool.
Yeah. That was the idea. It was like, you know, I do feel very proud of like what I've accomplished on YouTube, like as an individual. And I think we definitely will probably use my channel as like a second channel, or
Uh,
for smaller builds, or stuff we're experimenting with. So it's not, I think it'd be crazy for it to just disappear, because, there's a lot of hard work in that. But yeah, we definitely are looking at it as like, let's merge these 2 businesses together, essentially. And like, I don't see how that could be a bad thing for anyone.
that's neat. So
Yeah.
is it all still then Four Eyes? Because I
Yeah,
guess you guys both have glasses that are about the same.
we're definitely, yeah, I think we're still calling it 4 Eyes, which, that's totally fine. I still am going to keep, Shaun Boyd Made This will still exist as a business. I think I'll still do custom furniture under, with my business. Like, that's not going anywhere. So it is kind of this strange, mashup of 2
Right.
things, but so far, like at least for us, it makes a lot of sense. And
That's cool.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully with time, it makes sense to the audience. I think everyone's into it so far. Like we've just been getting tons of
Yeah.
positive comments and things. So we're excited for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you work about a month out. Like, are there any projects coming up that you're excited about?
Um, yeah, I mean the guitar and this cocktail table, I'm pretty stoked about. And then I'm going to be doing a dining table for a client in November, which will actually be pretty cool. And she wants some turned legs for this dining table, which I haven't done much turning at all. So hopefully, I don't have a lathe either, but hopefully I can either find a lathe or find a shop with a lathe that I can
Yeah,
do some turning. So that I'm excited for that, because that'll be something totally new to me, and that's always fun.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Well, man, I appreciate your time
for
and
sure.
chatting with you.
It's good. Yeah.
Since you are all over the place, it sounds like where would you send people to check out, I guess, your most current stuff? Like Instagram for you?
Yeah. Instagram definitely has, I try to keep it, I'll post something every time a new video comes out or whatever. For my most recent videos, definitely go to the Four Eyes Furniture channel, Chris Salamoni. That I have 4 videos on there in the past couple months. So yeah, those are definitely the two places with my most recent stuff. But yeah, or my
That's awesome.
website.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time. It was a
Hey,
blast chatting.
I thank you. Yeah, this was great.
Awesome.